Hi, I'm John Borland.
And I'm Jo Clark.
Welcome to That One Word Podcast.
And today's word is curiosity, picked by John. So,
Thank you.
why?
Well, curiosity for me was a bit of a life-changing word. And I think curiosity is one of my favourite words. But before we get into it, let's me be curious about you and you be curious about me, which sounds really weird, all right?
But I am very curious about you.
Because it's the first episode, I think we need to introduce ourselves a little bit and get to know,
Okay.
well, help the people listening to this get to know us a little bit. Because I
Okay.
know some people watching and listening will know you, some will know me, but
Yeah.
we might not know each other, and some people have no clue who either
of us are.
So give us a bit of background, Joe.
Okay. Well, Jo, I was thinking about the hats that we wear. So I think probably the easiest way to describe a bit about me is just to talk about all the different hats. So I'm a mum, primarily. I'm also a foster mum. I'm a professor of psychology and worked for 20 odd years in the prison service, but 25 in criminal justice altogether. Now I run a small business. I'm a business owner. I'm a sort of equestrian, a hobby equestrian. I've got horses. I run a not-for-profit part of my business called Hope's Haven, which is for children undergoing cancer treatment and in care or looked after to come and spend some time with horses and dogs and learn some resilience skills. I held the title Miss Galaxy UK 2017-18. That's pretty much a secret. I don't normally talk about that publicly, but lots of different hats.
Hang on. Miss Galaxy. I know of all the things you said, there's some amazing stuff. Miss Galaxy UK.
Yeah. Oh,
What even is that?
It's a very long story. It's a pageant. My daughter, funnily enough, and we must come to you too, because I was going to talk forever.
Yeah.
My daughter entered a pageant at 15, told me that she'd been shortlisted for Miss Teen Great Britain, and I was like, over my dead body, you're doing a pageant. And interestingly, she persuaded me to be curious about it. So, I did some background and some research, thought, actually, do you know what? This would be really good for her confidence, for her planning, for her organisational skills, for her public speaking. So I supported her fully, got criticised to the ends of the earth for it.
Wow.
So in my rather two-fingered approach to life, I said, right then, friends, I'm going to do a pageant. So I did, just as a joke. Ended up actually coming first runner-up. But when the original crowned queen and Miss Galaxy was... unfortunately dethroned. I took the crown for 6 months. Loved it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love that. This is amazing because obviously you worked in prisons, which is unbelievable. Sorry that the bit I got stuck on was the Miss Galaxy bit, but that's really interesting. Love that.
And actually, as a juxtaposition to that, I was also a family court magistrate for a year. So lots and lots of different hats.
Yeah.
Lots of different hats, which I think makes life really interesting.
Yeah.
And keeps my curiosity alive. But I want to hear about you.
So I need to start where you started. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I've got 3 kids.
Yeah.
I'm an adoptive father. Adopted. My youngest is adopted.
Yeah.
So I'm biological dad and adopted dad.
Yeah.
And I started my working life weirdly as a professional footballer. So that was my dream as a kid.
Yeah.
It literally everything was, my whole world was obsessed with football.
Yeah.
More so than people really understand. And everybody told me everybody really around said I'd have a long, successful football career. I'm not talking about friends and family, I'm talking about people actually in the game. That didn't work out as it was planned. It was interesting because I was just geared for a 20-year career, really. Just thought, this is it, I'm sorted. And then it very quickly fell off a cliff, as it often does, because there's so much resilience involved, there's so much about talent, but there's also so much about right place, right time. There really is.
Yeah, it's
acting. And it's an opinions-based business, which is very difficult because you can't take exams to pass it. It just is about who's in charge at what point.
Yeah.
So that fell off a cliff very quickly. And then I headed off to university because I didn't know what else to do in my early 20s. Met a guy there who worked in the inner cities.
Yeah.
He said, you'd be brilliant at working in the inner cities with young people and families in deprived communities. So I went and did that for a bit, which was the world's best learning curve. Like, it was like amazing living in it kind of felt like I was living in a Channel 4 documentary, truth be told. It did feel like that. It was brilliant though. And then stumbled upon coaching, life coaching effectively, but I don't like the word life coaching because it sounds, even now I don't like it. It makes me cringe, makes my toes curl a little bit. but that's what it was. Stumbled upon that and then trained in that quite cynically. I was a bit like, not sure about this, but fell in love with it.
See, that makes me curious.
Yeah.
Pursuing something that you're a bit cynical about.
Oh, the first training I went on was to dismiss it.
Oh,
Do you know when you're like, right, I need to get rid of
yeah.
this because this is bugging me. It keeps popping up in my life. I've had enough of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on it. I'm going to find out it's complete bullshit and I can get on with my life.
Yeah.
Got there, found out that there was a bit of bullshit about it, but the essence and heart of it was brilliant and it fitted perfectly with me.
Yeah.
So then I quit my job and set up a coaching practice in 2008 and then just went from there, really. And it's had lots of different forms, and I had a business partner for a bit, and now I kind of work solo, but effectively coaching, training, personal development, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Professional development's been at the heart of what I've done for years. So I'm now, hats you wear, I'm an accredited master coach, which makes me sound like a Jedi, and I don't really like it, but
you are a bit of a Jedi, John. Let's face.
Thanks. But that's where I'm at with it, really. So it's been quite interesting and fascinating, and there's been a massive lack of a plan.
Yeah.
But I really like that.
Yeah.
I struggle. Do you know when people go, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Yeah. I've never been able to answer that. I'm literally like, not a clue. No, anything could happen.
Yeah.
No idea. But I really like that. And that's where I think curiosity is key for me. Because if you said to me, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I'm like, oh, I'm curious. Because I don't actually know. I don't really plan too much at all.
Do you know, actually, it's two things that really struck me then. One is that I don't like football. I was thinking about you doing football. And then many years ago, I had a foster son who loved football. So I had to become curious about football. Yeah. And it completely changed my view of it. Yeah. And I watched him on the pitch and thinking, what an intelligent game it is, what skills it builds. You know, not just all the teamwork and looking out for each other, but knowing where the ball's going, know how hard to kick it, knowing who to kick it to. I'm probably sounding really ignorant to people who like football, but it really changed my view of the game. And I saw my foster son in a different light because of all the skills he was learning and bringing through that game. So, and I love the fact that that's your past. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like two different, it's almost like two different lives and two different, it really is. Like it feels like that life immersed in that, and then the life after that, and then I've kind of delved back into it a little bit in a kind of semi-professional way in recent years, which has been interesting. That interesting. That kind of felt like going home a little bit. Do you know, being back in a changing room and back involved in kind of with footballers. It was weird. It was almost like, I'm back home in a culture that I understand, and
I feel like that when I go into prison.
Yeah.
I haven't been in one for quite a few years,
Yeah.
but you walk through and it's
I bet
I just think, I know where I am.
Yeah,
I get this. Yeah.
So let me tell you a bit about why I picked the word curiosity, because I think that would be helpful. I think curiosity, when I think about it, was life changing for me, because I when I reflect back on it now, I think as a teenager, definitely, and maybe that's some of identity forming, but as a teenager and maybe into my early 20s, I think I was quite judgy, and not judgy in a horrible way, not in a kind of really critical way of other people, but just judgy in the sense that I think it was more important for me to be right than it was for me to be curious. I think I was more kind of, I know how things are, and I know what's what, and I know who's who, and that's the way it is. And I think that created that kind of closed mindset in me. And then it changed for me when somebody introduced me to the idea, and their thinking was, whether this is true or not we can explore, but their thinking was that you can't be curious and judgy at the same time. They were saying that judgment and curiosity are two almost opposites of each other, because the idea was that if you're being judgmental, you're not being curious, because if you're judgy, you're like, right, I know what that is. That's the label. So you've stopped being curious. And they were saying if you're being curious, you're not being judgy, because you're in a not knowing space. You're in a unknown kind of, So I don't know whether that's true or not, but for me, it flipped at that point. For me to go, hang on, let's challenge myself to be curious about people, about myself, about the world, and not be so closed mindset and like, I'm right, I know what that is.
So I'm processing like fury and thinking, well, I can see that if you think you're right, then that does kill curiosity, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
No, I've got this. I know I'm right about that person, and therefore I stop being curious about them. But then I come back to the fact that as human beings, we judge all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
As a magistrate, my job was to make judgments.
Yeah.
As a psychologist, my job is to make assessments and make informed judgments about why people behave the way they do, what their thought processes are. But I don't think I could have become a psychologist without being curious about people. So I'm wondering if it's not about not being judgy, but it's about being able to suspend your judgment in order to maintain some curiosity, because the minute you think you're right about something and you've got it all worked out, then you're going to stop searching.
I think you've got that perfect, because I think obviously judging is a survival instinct for us, isn't it?
Yeah,
we have to wander around making judgments to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
But then I think where it sits for me now, thinking about this, is this idea that I can judge, I can see something and go, okay, that's what that is.
Yeah.
But then the next moment is able to go, I wonder what else is going on, or I wonder what else is happening. I wonder what lies deeper. I wonder what's impacted this. So it's that ability to go, okay, I can see that thing, but can I also see past that thing and wonder and be curious about what else might be happening?
Because when you were talking about the influence that person had on you, saying you can't hold judgment and curiosity in the same place, it just reminded me of something my mum said to me. She was a primary school teacher, and she said to me, every time somebody asks, I wonder if, or I wonder what, it's an indication of intelligence.
Yes.
That's really interesting too. So of course I then went around saying, I wonder what. Well, you have to think I'm clever. But I think it probably is, whether it's academic intelligence, I don't think it's that kind of intelligence. I think it's more of an innate human intelligence, because then we could go all on to intelligence, couldn't we? But an innate human thing about being curious is how you learn and grow. And when you stop being curious, you stop growing somehow.
Yes, and I think that's what happened for me in my teenage years. I stopped being as curious about the world as I had been previously. And I do like the idea that probably the least judgy people that walk the planet are toddlers.
Yeah.
But I also think because they're the most curious.
Yeah.
I think they're wandering around going, what's that? And how's that work? And what's going on there? And why do we do that? And therefore then I think they don't have the same ability to pass the same judgment, because they haven't stuck.
Well, they haven't got those
labels on
skills
stuff.
yet anyway, have they? I mean, when you think about brain development, which I'm sure will come up in as often as we talk, something about the brain, but, they don't have the skills to judge, to assess risk, to plan, to think about things in that way. So, of course, they're naturally massively curious. And I think the huge downsides of adulthood is that because we stop being curious, we stop playing.
Yeah.
I mean, then that's a whole other subject, but we stop having fun.
Yeah.
Because so spanning from curiosity it opens a whole world up, doesn't it? If you can be curious and playful. I mean, I wonder, if people listening, adults listening, the last time they played because something made them curious about something.
Yeah.
And what fun it might be. What if we tried this?
What else is there? What else could we do? What else is possible?
Yeah.
What possibilities exist? And
what other
else
friends might I make?
What might that mean? And who could I be? And all those kinds of... These are the types of questions that I ask within coaching.
Yeah.
And when I teach people to coach, one of the things I say is your best friend is curiosity.
Yeah.
Like if the more curious you are as a coach with people... the more people are going to be asked questions that they've never thought about before, the more they're going to learn stuff, the more they're going to expand their thinking, the more they're going to discover. And it doesn't mean, and when you're asking a curious question, it's not about being right or asking the right question. It's just about a question that opens up thinking in the world for people. That's
so
all.
Freeing, isn't it? To not have to be right, to be curious.
It's so freeing. And then even when you get to something where you're like, okay, I think that's what it is. So you've made a judgment. You're then going curious again, because you're then going, well, I wonder where. So it's almost, curiosity is almost never ending. And that's what I love about it. And I think the level of, there's a little bit of, there's an article I read years ago, and I can't name who wrote it. But basically the essence of it was this idea that judgment's almost a defensive approach. Whereas curiosity is like a connecting approach. So curiosity is almost this sense of, if you're curious, they reckon, this article was saying, you're more likely to build connections, you're more likely to learn more, you're more likely to be positive in your outlook about
Yeah.
things. Whereas if you're judging,
Yeah.
it's more like you shut yourself down,
Yeah.
you disconnect from the world, you miss out on possibilities. So it's really interesting, the idea of, I mean, whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just something I came across.
I think it is.
Whether judge is like a slightly defensive approach and being curious is more like a connecting approach.
Well, let's illustrate that with how we met.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching a video that you made you put it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it was about your son's fear of terrorism, and
Yeah.
you saying to your son, actually, the biggest danger to you is yourself, because the rate of male suicide is so high. And you said in your video to men who were listening, be vulnerable, be that person who opens up the possibility for other people to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that made me really curious about you, because it's unusual to hear a man talk in that way. And because I was curious about you, I got in touch. And then here we are, however many years later, making a podcast together. So when you say it forms connection, that's just like a perfect illustration of how that connection happened.
Yeah, you bang on. And actually, if you'd have judged me in that moment and gone, he's not
Is that manly to talk about being vulnerable, which would be a judgment?
Yeah, or even if you're like, well, this is not textbook psychology, so therefore I'll dismiss it. Yeah. That rather than, wait, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's perfect. That leads us to this, doesn't it?
Well, and the other thing that I was thinking as you were talking, and you say you use questions in coaching about asking curious questions, and then therapeutically, I talk all the time to clients about their emotion, their feeling.
Yeah.
And often people are really scared of their feelings. They're scared of feeling angry. They're scared of feeling vulnerable. They're scared of feeling anxious. And you can completely reframe that in the curiosity context and say, well, let's be curious about those feelings. Where have they come from?
Yeah.
What do you think might be driving them? What purpose are those feelings playing in your life? And those are curious questions. So you're about to sit an exam and you've got anxiety. You can be paralysed by that anxiety because you're judging yourself and you're judging the potential outcome. Or you can be curious about it and go, well, actually, that's really interesting that I'm anxious. Is it because I haven't revised enough? Is it because of the pressure of the exam setting? Is it because I'm scared of failure? And once you start thinking about all the reasons you might be feeling those things, you start being curious about them, then you're in a position to do something, to take some action. So I think curiosity, as you say, is so much about connection, but it's also about action and about possibility and about growth.
Yeah, and I think, just as you were talking there, I was thinking the idea that, like, if you think about judgment and self-judgment, so what I often experience in myself and in others is that we have a feeling and then we judge ourselves negatively for having that feeling. Yeah. So we make that worse. So maybe we feel anxious or we feel worried or we feel nervous, and then we're like, in our internal dialogue is how stupid, you shouldn't be feeling that, it's ridiculous. And then we scold ourselves for having that feeling because we've judged ourselves for having that feeling rather than being curious about it. And I really like a guy called Anthony DeMello, who was a bit of a spiritual guru.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, and he, I think it's in his book Awareness, which was actually a speech, I think, that was then transcribed into a book. I think it's in there where he talks about the idea of self-awareness, if you like. So becoming curious about yourself. He said you have to do it from a curious point of view, not a judgy point of view. So what he likens it to, and I really like this, is he talks about the idea that if you're a wildlife scientist, and say, for example, you're going to go observe the mountain gorillas, and they behave in certain ways, you wouldn't be going, oh, how stupid, look at the way they're behaving. You wouldn't be like, that's absolutely ridiculous. What do they think they're doing? You wouldn't be going, right, got to change that, got to shift it. You would literally just be watching them going, how interesting, how curious. I wonder what that means. I wonder what that is, etc., etc. And he says you've got to treat your own thoughts and emotions in that way. So in the same way that you just, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling fed up, I feel down, I feel happy, whatever it is, and go, how interesting. I wonder what that's about. I wonder what that means, in the same way that you would with the mountain gorillas.
But it reminds me of a story from prisons, actually, which I think is worth telling, because it's partly what drove me to set up my business. And I was working with prison staff who, prison officers don't really like psychologists, and nobody really likes psychologists. They all think we're either assessing them or reading their minds or whatever, which of course we are, but actually I'll tell you a mind reading story in a minute because that was really funny.
Yeah.
But prison officers, if they came to see me as a psychologist, they were usually at their absolute wit's end of their tether.
Yeah.
And they would sit across from me, a bit like you are now, and I'd say, "What's up?" And they say, I feel angry, I feel anxious, I hate coming into work, I feel sick, I'm having nightmares, I'm not sleeping, I'm arguing with my partner." I mean, literally, it was heartbreaking. And I'd say to them, "So, what's happened to you over the last 5 years? Tell me a bit about your career." And they would have experienced hostage takings, assaults, possibly even a murder, threats to their safety or their family's safety. And I'd say to them, "Why are you surprised that you're feeling how you're feeling, given all the things you've been through?" And what would happen is they would be judging themselves so much about they weren't this strong, masculine, whatever. Because no one can endure that level of traumatic incidents without you being able to process them or work through them or heal in exactly the same way as if it was a physical thing. So it's a little bit like your mountain gorillas. If I said to someone, if someone was stabbing you all the time and you're breaking your bones and, getting you in a throat lock, would you be cross with yourself for feeling pain? They go, "Well, no, because it's natural." And so is this psychological experience that you're having, because it's never been processed, it's never been treated, you've never had time to heal, you haven't allowed yourself to heal because it doesn't fit with your judgment of what a prison officer should be. And this was men and women, so it wasn't just gender. It's a very macho environment in prisons, but that applies to both sexes. And it was very hard for them to be curious because they had such a fixed idea of what they should be like in that setting. And to help them be curious about the fact that, yes, they felt anxious when they walked past a certain cell because 5 years ago someone had leapt out and tried to stab them. Then, of course, they're going to feel anxious. That's their body protecting them. And if they'd been empowered to have that curiosity and to allow themselves to feel a bit vulnerable, they'd have probably been able to heal a lot more quickly.
Yeah. So. I had, years ago, I took my middle son to a swimming lesson. I was sat up on a balcony. And he had to swim a length. And I think it was the first time he'd ever swum a length. I can't remember what age he was, but, fairly young. He swims this length, and I feel like literally I'm overcome with, I feel sick, I feel anxious. I'm like, I literally want to puke. I'm like, well, and it's not a physical thing. Like, well, it felt physical, but I know it's not. There's nothing, it's not something I've eaten. I'm like, oh, my life, what's wrong with me? I'm like, I can't watch this. And I am not a wrap my kids in cotton wool kind of dad at all. I've got he can swim a length. I've got no problems with it. And at that point, I'm like, what on earth's going on here? And then curiosity really helps me out. Because rather than me going, what are you doing, you weirdo?
Put yourself together.
I'm like, hang on, what's happening here? What is happening here? And then I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. So I fell in a river when I was 6 years old.
Wow. I've got goosebumps.
I've very... so I have some vivid memories of it, but not many memories of it. And I think it was more dangerous than I think I realised at 6 years old. So it's this whole body keeps the score stuff, isn't it? Like in terms of trauma. And it's not something I ever really spoke about. Or I went home, hid my wet clothes under my bed because I knew I'd get told off.
So you weren't even rescued? You got yourself out?
Well, so I have a memory of like grass in my hands. So it's a feeling rather than a memory. And my brother got me out. Because we basically went looking for conkers, and we weren't allowed near the river. But someone told us, an older kid said, "There's a really good conker tree by the river." So we went, played poo sticks. My poo stick got stuck, and I was highly competitive, so I had to. I was leaning into the river to try and get my poo stick going again. If people don't know what poo sticks is, it sounds really weird, doesn't it? Yeah. That's a Winnie the Pooh. It's a Winnie the Pooh reference.
It's sticks running down the river, and whose stick comes first in the current.
So fell in. They got me out, but I remember going under a couple of times, and then went home, hid my wet clothes under my bed because I knew I'd get told off. And then my mum found my wet clothes. My room was stinking, and she's like, "Is this what she tells me?" Apparently. So that was, and then suddenly I'm like, so we had to do swimming lessons at school, didn't we? And they'd do things where they'd make you float upside down in the water, and I would refuse to do it. I remember throwing my swimming kit in my mum once. Like, I'm not doing that. I'd forget my swimming kit because I didn't realise it was a trauma response at all. At the time, I just thought I was being a bit soft or a bit.
You have raised something so central to
Right.
curiosity, and that's about parents with their children's behaviour. I'm thinking about your mum
Yeah.
watching this behaviour, you refusing to do things and probably thinking you're just being naughty.
Yeah.
And curiosity would allow for that.
Yes.
But it also, sorry, just to change the subject really quickly, brings to mind the curiosity killed the cat saying,
Yes.
which I don't think we can ignore in a
Yeah.
chat about curiosity, is that your curiosity about the conkers
Yes. Got me
could
in
have
trouble.
killed you.
Yeah. And that's the flip
Yeah.
side of curiosity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really interesting because my other memory is my dad coming in my room, my
Yeah.
bedroom, and saying
Yeah.
to me, "This is dead simple.
Yeah.
If you don't go swimming, you don't play football."
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, but I'll go swimming.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing
Yeah.
because of my love for football that made me
Yeah.
endure swimming lessons. But that was all linked, and then comes out as I must have been in my 30s when I had that moment by the swimming pool with my son. But if I hadn't been curious about that, I'd have just been telling myself off and scolding myself for being soft, weird.
Although the
sensitive.
psychologist in me makes me wonder if there'd been curiosity about your resistance to swim and that had uncovered that you'd fallen in
Yeah.
the river and that was dealt with, you might not have ended up in your 30s
Totally agree.
sitting there watching your son and feeling
Totally
the whole
agree.
trauma response
Yeah.
again.
But this was the 1980s,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
nobody...
well, no one does it now either, enough in my view, but yeah.
So no one was ever
Yeah.
going to go there, I don't think, at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. So the dark side of curiosity then is that sometimes we can
Yeah.
be overly curious
Yeah.
and get ourselves into holes and get ourselves
Yeah.
into trouble.
So what would we balance curiosity with in order that that doesn't happen? Because I always think, and that there's a really lovely framework, that it's called the Core Qualities
Yeah.
Framework
Daniel
by
Hoffman
Daniel
stuff, yeah.
Hoffman. And he says that it's not lacking a quality that's the problem, it's having too much of it
Yes.
that's the problem.
It needs a boundary
And that
almost,
it needs
doesn't
a balance, a
Yeah.
counterbalance. So
Yeah.
if curiosity is the quality, what's the pitfall? And that's that you might end up really taking risks. So how do you maintain your curiosity and still take risks? For me, it would be awareness. Actually, going back to Anthony de Mello's book, it would be
Yeah.
how do you stay aware? How do you stand back from your curiosity and your judgment and your risk taking,
Yeah.
and just see the whole picture and maintain your curiosity whilst recognising that there's potential for it to lead you into trouble, but not always. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think in terms of play and people and being curious about people and why they behave the way they do, why people respond the way they do, why we have the feelings we have.
Curiosity leads to awareness, doesn't it? So I think
think
curiosity
that's
leads
it,
to
doesn't it?
awareness.
Yeah.
As in,
An awareness of sorts,
yeah,
yes.
if you're curious, you'll
Yeah.
become potentially more aware, but you need the
Yeah.
awareness to balance. Because if you're just
Yeah.
curious, you just keep going, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Whereas sometimes you need that awareness to go, okay, that's
Yeah.
enough. I've got to where I need
Yeah.
to be with that.
So they need to go hand in hand.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of awareness.
Yes.
Like a huge...
Well, there's another word we could
There's
discuss.
another word we'll discuss at some point
At
in
some
more
point,
detail, yeah.
yeah.
But I think to become aware,
Yeah.
you have to have curiosity. But I
Curiosity.
also think awareness, I think you're right, I think it balances the curiosity.
It probably balances, keeps you safe if curiosity does kill cats.
But then is there a difference between nosiness then?
Nah.
Do you know what I mean? Because curiosity to me always sounds like a quite pure, not knowing, let me go and
Yeah.
understand. Whereas nosiness always seems to have a bit of a sinister
It does. doesn't
appeal
it?
to it. And that's where I wonder
Yeah.
if it wasn't curiosity that killed the cat, it was nosiness, because the cat wanted something for itself. And the cat was like, because I think nosiness is like a selfish thing, because it strokes people's egos, it makes them feel better. And if they're being nosy, they can find out some gossip about someone or some information, but it's used in a sinister way. It's not used in a way that's helpful for the other person, so it lacks empathy. I think nosiness. It's actually.
So curiosity is expansive, and
I think
it is
so.
about growth and knowing and
Yeah, and it's pure and it's not
pure.
judgy in any way. Whereas nosiness has a
nosiness
judgy.
is like narrow. It's like I want to know that about that person because it benefits me to know it rather than in some way.
Yeah.
Rather than, or it's
I
a bit
think-
of gossip, or it gives me a status.
Yeah, it makes me feel better than them.
As opposed to me learning, which is curiosity. That's
Yeah.
an interesting distinction, isn't
I
it?
think there's a selfishness
Yeah.
about nosiness.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because I think if we're
Fascinating.
curious, say we're curious about another person,
Yeah.
I think we're kind of curious for them as well,
Yeah.
to understand them better, to
Yeah.
connect with them better, to empathise with them better. Whereas I think if we're nosy,
Yeah.
we're almost like, oh, I want that for me,
Yeah, for me.
so I can stroke my own ego and make
Yeah.
myself feel better.
And if we're curious about ourselves, there's nothing nosy about that.
No, I don't think so.
It's like, oh, okay, why am I behaving in this way? Why am I responding in this way? And it's a much kinder compassion. Maybe that's what it is. There's something about curiosity that has a compassion about it and a kindness and
Agree.
but a nosiness tends to have a slightly more sinister undertones.
Yeah, it's almost like
It's a bit extreme, but
no, but I think you're right. If you're being nosy, I think it's you're getting something that you can then
Yeah,
use for your
yeah.
own benefit in some way
yeah,
to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're being curious, I think there's a
Yeah.
purity to it. Because little kids, again, I don't think they're nosy.
no,
I just think they're curious.
they're curious. No, exactly. They're not.
And there's a
nosy, they're
purity
curious.
to
There is.
curiosity, I think.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
So if we were to wrap this up with a tip,
Yeah,
because I know we quite like to give
we do like
tips and
tips. Yeah.
advice, don't we? Yeah. Yeah, being a coach and a psychologist together.
Yeah.
What do you think your top tip would be to people listening about curiosity?
Well, I think to be curious, you have to be comfortable with the unknown.
Okay.
And the reason I think we go to judgment is because it takes us to a place of feeling, a false sense of feeling like we're in the known.
Yeah.
And obviously the unknown is quite a scary place for
Yeah.
humans. It's probably
yeah.
our greatest
yeah,
fear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
I think that's why we do it.
Yeah.
So I think to be curious, you have to be comfortable with the unknown. You have to be okay with the not knowingness
Okay.
of stuff.
That's quite a skill.
It's quite a skill. And then the extra bit to that then is a sense of backing yourself that it'll be okay, like you can handle it, you can
Yeah.
handle the unknown.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. Whereas I think people who potentially don't back themselves
Yeah.
enough or don't have enough self-trust,
Yeah.
they want to live in black and whites, they want to live in
Yeah.
the known, they want everything to have a label on it so they know exactly what they're dealing with. So I think there's a bit of a deeper challenge here, really, which is the practice of curiosity.
Yeah.
I think when you practice curiosity, my experience has been the brilliant benefit of practicing curiosity is that you build self-trust.
Yeah.
You build a sense of going, I can handle the unknown, I can handle what happens, it's okay, let me be curious about it. And I also think you get all the wondrous things of connection and opportunity. And someone called me lucky last night. My mate said to me, but I think you're lucky. And he didn't mean it in a life, he just meant generally, I think
Yeah.
you've got something about you that's lucky. And I said, I think that might be positivity.
Yeah.
And I think there might be a curiosity for
Yeah.
it. So I would say practice being okay in the unknown as much as possible. What would your tip
Okay.
be?
My tip would be when you have a feeling
Yeah.
that's strong, is be curious about it. Always be curious.
that.
But I also, just to build on what you said, and I guess just to end this, our first podcast,
Yeah,
which
well
has been
done.
fascinating,
Yeah.
is understand that everything's unknown.
Yeah.
Everything is unknown. So the only way really to live in any kind of stability and comfort is to accept that the future is a fantasy.
Yeah.
We plan, and that's
Yeah.
fine, but we don't know it.
Yeah.
And once you're at home with that, as you so rightly say, then the whole world opens up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Thanks, Joe.
Fascinating. Thank you.
I could talk for a lot longer about this, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you
Cheers,
so
John.
much. And thanks
for
everyone listening. Yeah, really appreciate it.